Hey everyone, and welcome back to Stellar HFY. First off, thank you. The incredible response to our recent stories. Today we're diving into what happens when an alien invasion thinks they've won, only to discover that humanity's most dangerous experiments were never abandoned. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore why you should never, ever underestimate what humanity considers too dangerous to use. Day 94. Emergency rations down to 8 days remaining. The bastards are getting closer. Dr. Marcus Holloway's voice echoed through the empty corridors of Blackrock Deep Science Facility as he recorded his daily log, the only human sound that had broken the mechanical hum of life support systems in weeks. 3 kilometers beneath the Colorado Rockies, surrounded by enough reinforced concrete and steel to withstand a direct nuclear strike, he should have felt safe. Instead, he felt like a man counting down to his own execution. The facility's main laboratory stretched out before him like a cathedral of science, gleaming white walls, pristine workstations, and rows of containment units that hummed with quiet menace. But it was the massive viewing window at the far end that drew his attention every morning, looking down into the heart of Project Sentinel. Behind 6 inches of reinforced transparent aluminum, thousands of organisms floated in perfect stasis, waiting for a signal that Holloway prayed would never come. He had been the facility's chief researcher for 8 years, ever since the project began in response to humanity's first confirmed evidence of alien surveillance. The initial contact attempts had been disastrous. 3 separate incidents where alien probes had appeared in Earth's outer system, made brief contact, then vanished without explanation. Each time, the probes had demonstrated technology far beyond human capabilities. Each time, they had studied Earth with the cold efficiency of scientists examining bacteria in a petri dish. That's when Project Sentinel was born, not as a weapon, but as a shield, a biological defense system that could adapt to any threat faster than conventional weapons could respond. The organisms weren't designed to attack invaders, they were designed to make Earth uninhabitable for anything that wasn't human. The memory of the invasion still hit him like a physical blow. Holloway had been in the middle of routine maintenance on the stasis chambers when every alarm in the facility began screaming simultaneously. The surface monitoring stations had detected massive objects emerging from hyperspace, not the sleek probes they had expected, but an entire invasion fleet. Ships the size of cities, bristling with weapons that turned Earth's orbital defenses into clouds of glowing debris in minutes. Dr. Holloway to Surface Command, requesting immediate evacuation assistance, he had radioed, watching the tactical displays show red markers spreading across every continent. So Sturyu, response had been a burst of static, followed by an automated message that made his blood turn to ice. Surface Command is no longer operational. Initiating Protocol Omega. All personnel are to secure classified materials and await further instructions. He had sealed the facility that same day, activating stealth systems that would make Blackrock appear as nothing more than abandoned mining tunnels to any surface scan. The power systems went into hibernation mode. The access tunnels were sealed with charges that would take military-grade equipment days to clear, and the organisms went into deeper stasis to conserve resources. For 3 months, he had maintained his vigil alone. Emergency rations kept him alive. Automated systems kept the organisms stable, and surface sensors showed him the systematic destruction of human civilization. The aliens, calling themselves the Vortic according to intercepted communications, were methodical in their conquest. They didn't simply destroy everything, they cataloged it, studied it, and decided what was worth keeping. That was what terrified him most. The Vorthak weren't mindless destroyers, they were collectors. They investigated every facility, analyzed every piece of technology, and maintained detailed records of everything they found. It was only a matter of time before their salvage teams reached Blackrock and discovered that the abandoned mining tunnels contained something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. His hands shook as he prepared the morning status report on the organisms. Each one was a masterpiece of biological engineering, synthetic life forms that could analyze threats, adapt countermeasures, and reproduce those countermeasures at an exponential rate. They had been designed to remain dormant until exposed to non-human biological signatures, at which point they would activate and begin the most sophisticated biological warfare campaign ever conceived. The problem was that once activated, they couldn't be turned off. The organisms would continue adapting and spreading until they had neutralized every perceived threat, regardless of collateral damage. It was a doomsday weapon disguised as a defense system, and Holloway was the only person left alive who understood how to control it. Through the facility's surface sensors, he watched Vorthak's salvage teams working their way through the ruins of Denver, methodically investigating every structure larger than a house. They moved with the patience of archaeologists and the efficiency of machines, leaving nothing unexplored. At their current rate, they would reach BlackRock's surface entrance within days. Holloway activated his emergency communication array and began composing a coded transmission, a desperate message broadcast on frequencies that only human ships would monitor. If any evacuation fleets had survived, if anyone was still out there listening, they needed to know what was waiting beneath the Colorado mountains. As he typed the final lines of his distress signal, Holloway looked one more time through the viewing window at the organisms floating peacefully in their stasis chambers. Beautiful, terrible, and completely beyond human control once released. He had spent 8 years perfecting humanity's ultimate defense, and now he was the only thing standing between the galaxy and a biological nightmare that would make the Vorthak invasion look like a minor inconvenience. The transmission queue showed ready to broadcast. All he needed was someone, somewhere, to be listening. "Commander, you need to hear this right now." Lieutenant Sarah Chen's voice cut through the quiet hum of the evacuation fleet's command ship, her usual calm replaced by barely controlled excitement. Commander Darius Kane looked up from the refugee manifest he had been reviewing, another list of families crammed into cargo holds, another reminder of how few humans had escaped Earth before the orbital blockade was established. His fleet consisted of 17 civilian ships and 2 military escorts, carrying maybe 40,000 survivors toward the Centauri colonies. It wasn't much, but it was all that remained of humanity's presence in space. "What is it, Chen?" Kane asked, moving to the communications station where his signals officer was hunched over a complex waveform display. "It's a coded transmission from Earth, sir. Military encryption, but not from any installation we have on record." Chen's fingers flew across her interface, isolating the signal from the background noise of space. "The source is somewhere in the Colorado Rockies, and whoever's sending it knows protocols that were classified above our clearance level." Kane felt his pulse quicken. For 3 months, their long-range sensors had detected nothing from Earth except Vorthak military traffic and the occasional automated distress beacon from destroyed installations. A living human using classified protocols meant someone important had survived the invasion. "Can you decode it?" Kane asked. "Already working on it," Chen replied, her voice tight with concentration. "The encryption is military grade, but the message structure suggests it's from a research facility. Give me 5 minutes." Those 5 minutes felt like hours. Kane paced the cramped bridge, acutely aware that every other officer was watching him for some sign of what this might mean. Were there survivors organizing resistance? Was Earth's government somehow still functional? Or was this just another ghost signal from an automated system running on backup power? "Got it," Chen announced, her face pale as she read the decoded message. "Sir, this is from Dr. Marcus Holloway, chief researcher at something called the BlackRock Deep Science Facility. He's requesting immediate contact with any surviving military commanders. Says he has information critical to humanity's survival." Kane felt a chill run down his spine. He had never heard of BlackRock, but facilities with names like that were usually associated with projects that officially didn't exist. "What else does the message say?" "He's alone in an underground facility, been there since the invasion started. But sir, here's the important part. He says the Vorthak are investigating Earth's research installations systematically, and they're going to find something that could either save humanity or destroy everything." Chen looked up from her console. "He's asking for immediate extraction, and he says time is running out." Kane weighed his options. Taking the fleet back to Earth meant risking 40,000 lives on the word of one man who might be delusional from months of isolation. But if there was even a chance that this Dr. Holloway had access to something that could change the war's outcome, they had to investigate. "Chen, establish a secure communication link with Dr. Holloway," Kane ordered. "I want to talk to this man directly before we make any decisions." The connection took nearly an hour to establish, rooting through communication satellites that had somehow survived the invasion. When Holloway's voice finally came through the speakers, it carried the weight of a man who had been alone too long with terrible knowledge. "Commander Kane, thank you for responding," Holloway said, his voice hoarse but steady. "I don't have much time to explain, so I'll be direct. The facility I'm in houses Project Sentinel, a biological defense system designed to protect Earth from exactly the kind of invasion we're experiencing." "What kind of biological defense?" Kane asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. "Engineered organisms that can adapt to neutralize any biological or chemical threat," Holloway replied. "They've been in stasis since the project began, waiting for activation. The problem is that the Vorthak are methodically investigating every research facility on Earth. Their standard protocol is to catalog all technology before deciding whether to destroy or assimilate it. They will reach this facility within days." Kane felt the blood drain from his face. "And if they activate these organisms?" "That's the issue, Commander. The organisms are programmed to activate automatically when exposed to non-human biological signatures. Once active, they will adapt to neutralize whatever they perceive as a threat. The Vorthak investigation will trigger them whether we want it to happen or not." The implications hit Kane like a physical blow. "You're telling me that Earth has a biological weapon that will activate itself when the aliens get too close?" "Not a weapon, Commander. A defense system. But yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. The organisms will adapt to make Earth uninhabitable for any non-human biology while leaving human personnel completely unaffected. The question is whether we try to evacuate me and destroy the facility, or whether we let the system activate and hope it can be contained." Kane looked around the bridge at his officers, all of whom were staring at the communication console with expressions of horror and fascination. 40,000 refugees were counting on him to get them safely to the colonies. But if this Dr. Holloway was right, the fate of Earth itself might depend on the decisions made in the next few hours. "Dr. Holloway, how long do we have before the Vorthak reach your facility?" Kane asked. "Based on their current investigation pattern, maybe 48 hours, Holloway replied. "But Commander, there's something else you need to know. The organisms weren't designed with a shutdown mechanism. Once they activate, they'll continue adapting until they've neutralized every perceived threat. This isn't just about Earth. This could affect the entire galaxy." Kane closed his eyes and made the hardest decision of his life. "Dr. Holloway, we're coming to get you. Hold your position and prepare for extraction. We'll figure out what to do about your project when we get there." As the communication ended, Kane turned to his navigation officer. "Plot a course for Earth. We're going home." "Sector Commander, we have located another facility of significant interest." The voice of scientific assessor Threxmal crackled through the communication array aboard the Vorthak command vessel, hovering in Earth's upper atmosphere like a mechanical vulture. Sector Commander Vex Adun studied the holographic display showing Earth's surface, dotted with thousands of markers indicating investigated human installations. The conquest of this primitive world was proceeding exactly according to standard Vorthak protocol, a methodical process refined over centuries of expansion. First, eliminate all military resistance. Second, catalog all potentially useful technology. Third, strip the planet of valuable resources and move on to the next target. "Explain the significance, Assessor," Vexdun commanded, his scaled fingers drumming against the command console. The Vorthak Empire had conquered 47 worlds using these same procedures, and Earth was proving to be no different from the others. Militarily weak but technologically interesting in unexpected ways. "The facility is located in the mountainous region the humans call Colorado," Threxmal reported. "Our deep penetration scanners initially read it as abandoned mining tunnels, but detailed analysis reveals sophisticated stealth systems and containment barriers extending 3 kilometers underground. The energy signature suggests research installations far more advanced than anything we have discovered on this world." Vexdun's interest sharpened. The Vorthak Empire's strength came from their ability to assimilate useful technologies from conquered species. Most human research had been crude but occasionally innovative. Their quantum encryption methods had proven surprisingly sophisticated, and their biological research showed potential for medical applications. "What is the facility's current status?" Vexdun asked. Surface installations appear abandoned, but passive energy signatures suggest active systems in the lower levels. The humans have designated it as a priority research site, which means they believed whatever was inside was worth protecting even during an invasion. Through the tactical display, Vexdun could see his scientific teams working their way across Earth's surface like an organized plague. Each team consisted of 12 specialists, engineers, biologists, physicists, and military technicians, equipped with portable analysis equipment capable of reverse engineering most technologies within hours. They moved from facility to facility with mechanical precision, investigating everything from simple manufacturing plants to sophisticated research laboratories. Reassign Science Team 7 to immediate investigation of this Colorado facility, Vexstone ordered. If the humans considered it important enough to hide, it warrants priority assessment. 3,000 kilometers below, Dr. Marcus Holloway watched the Vorthak approach through BlackRock's surface monitoring system. The alien team moved with the confidence of predators who had never encountered prey capable of fighting back. Their equipment was impressive: portable scanners that could analyze molecular structures, excavation tools that could cut through reinforced concrete like paper, and communication systems that coordinated their efforts with military efficiency. But what terrified Holloway most was their methodical nature. The Vorthak weren't raiders looking for quick plunder. They were systematic collectors who left nothing unexplored. He had watched them spend 18 hours investigating a simple agricultural research station, cataloging every piece of equipment and taking samples of every chemical compound they found. His secure communication link with Commander Kane crackled to life. "Dr. Holloway, what's your status?" "They're here," Holloway replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Science Team 7, 12 specialists with enough equipment to breach any containment system we built. They'll be through the outer barriers within hours." Kane's voice carried the weight of impossible decisions. "Doctor, I need you to tell me something. And I need you to be completely honest. If these organisms activate, what exactly happens?" Holloway looked through the viewing window at the stasis chambers, where thousands of synthetic life forms floated in perfect suspension. He had spent 8 years perfecting them, and he knew their capabilities better than anyone alive. The organisms will analyze any non-human biological material they encounter. Once they identify a threat, they begin producing targeted agents designed to neutralize that specific biology. But here's what I didn't tell you before. I built a failsafe into their genetic structure. What kind of failsafe? They're programmed with a 30-day lifespan that can only be extended by continuous exposure to the threat they're designed to counter, Holloway explained. If the Vorthak leave Earth's atmosphere, the organisms will begin dying off naturally. It's not a shutdown switch, but it prevents them from spreading beyond Earth if the invasion is repelled. Through his monitors, Holloway could see the Vorthak team setting up their excavation equipment at BlackRock's main entrance. The massive boring machines they were deploying could cut through the facility's outer defenses in hours, not days. "Commander, we have maybe 6 hours before they breach containment," Holloway said. "You need to decide right now. Do we let them discover the organisms and potentially weaponize them? Or do we trigger the system ourselves and hope 30 days is enough time to reclaim Earth?" Kane's response was immediate and decisive. "Doctor, if we trigger the system, can you guarantee it will stop the Vorthak invasion?" "I can guarantee it will make Earth uninhabitable for any non-human biology," Holloway replied. "Whether that stops the invasion or just forces them to glass the planet from orbit is anyone's guess." The sound of cutting equipment echoed through BlackRock's upper levels, transmitted through the facility's structural monitoring system. The Vorthak had begun their excavation, and with each passing minute, they were getting closer to humanity's most dangerous secret. "Containment Barrier 1 has been breached." The automated voice of BlackRock's security system cut through the facility's silence like a death sentence, followed by the distant sound of alien machinery grinding through reinforced concrete. Dr. Marcus Holloway's hands trembled as he watched the Vorthak engineering team methodically dismantle the outer defenses that were supposed to protect the world from what lay sleeping in the facility's depths. Through the security cameras, he could see 12 alien figures working with the mechanical precision of a surgical team, their advanced equipment slicing through barriers that had taken human engineers months to construct. "Dr. Holloway, report your status immediately." Commander Kane's voice crackled through the communication system, carrying the tension of a man watching his worst fears unfold in real time. "They're through the first barrier," Holloway replied, his eyes fixed on the tactical display, showing the aliens' steady progress toward the lower levels. At their current rate, they'll reach the organism containment chambers in approximately 4 hours. Kane, once they get down there, once they disturb those stasis fields with their scanning equipment, the organisms will activate automatically, Kane finished. "Are your people in position for extraction?" Holloway let out a bitter laugh. "What people? Commander, I've been alone down here for 3 months. There is no extraction team, no backup plan, no way to get me out before this facility becomes ground zero for a biological nightmare that will reshape Earth's entire ecosystem." The sound of cutting equipment grew louder as the Vorthik team penetrated deeper into BlackRock's defensive layers. Each breach triggered new alarms, new automated warnings that echoed through empty corridors where dozens of researchers had once worked. Holloway moved to the main laboratory's observation deck, looking down at the rows of stasis chambers that contained humanity's last desperate gamble. Scientific assessor Threxmal examined the readings on his portable scanner as his team cleared away the debris from the second containment barrier. The energy signatures from deeper in the facility were unlike anything they had encountered on Earth. Organized, purposeful, and clearly designed to contain something the humans considered extremely dangerous. "Team leader, these containment protocols are military grade," reported engineer Kexval, studying the construction of the barriers they were cutting through. "Whatever the humans were hiding down here, they believed it required the same level of security as their most dangerous weapons." Threxmal nodded, his scaled features showing the satisfaction of a scientist approaching a significant discovery. "Continue excavation. The readings suggest biological research of some sophistication. If the humans developed anything useful before their civilization collapsed, it will be in this facility." 4 levels above, Holloway watched the aliens work with growing horror. The Vorthik moved with the confidence of a species that had conquered dozens of worlds, never considering that their victims might have prepared surprises specifically designed to exploit that confidence. Their scanning equipment was incredibly sophisticated, capable of analyzing biological systems with precision that human technology couldn't match. But that same sophistication would be their downfall. The organisms in stasis were programmed to respond to exactly the kind of detailed biological analysis the Vorthek were about to perform. "Kane, they're at the third barrier," Holloway reported, watching the tactical display track the aliens' progress. "The moment they breach the laboratory level, their scanners will detect the organisms. The stasis fields will interpret that as a potential threat and begin activation protocols." "Can you override the activation sequence?" Kane asked desperately. "That's the problem. There is no override," Holloway replied. "The organisms were designed to activate automatically when exposed to non-human biological signatures. It was supposed to be a fail-safe against alien infiltration, but now it's going to trigger whether we want it to or not." The cutting stopped. Through the security cameras, Holloway could see the Vorthak team gathering around their team leader, examining readings that were clearly confusing them. Their equipment was detecting massive biological signatures from the levels below, signatures that didn't match any known Earth organism. "Something's wrong," Threxmal announced to his team, studying the scanner readings with growing concern. "These biological signatures are artificial, synthetic life forms in some kind of suspended animation. The humans were conducting biological warfare research on a scale we haven't seen from this species." Engineer Kexval looked up from his analysis of the containment systems. "Team leader, these barriers weren't designed to keep intruders out. They were designed to keep something in. Whatever the humans created down there, they were afraid of it." For the first time since beginning the excavation, Threxmal felt a flicker of uncertainty. The Vorthak Empire had encountered biological weapons before, but never anything that required this level of containment. Standard protocol demanded that he investigate further, but every instinct developed over decades of conquest was telling him to retreat and call for military support. "Continue excavation," Threxmal ordered, overriding his instincts with military discipline. "Whatever the humans created, it has been contained for months. We will analyze it, catalog it, and determine its usefulness to the Empire." The cutting resumed, and Holloway knew that humanity's fate would be decided in the next few minutes. As the Vorthak team broke through the final containment barrier, their scanners would flood the laboratory with the kind of detailed biological analysis that would wake sleeping nightmares designed specifically to protect Earth from exactly this kind of invasion. "Kane, they're through," Holloway whispered into his communicator as the last barrier fell and alien scanning equipment began probing the depths of BlackRock's most classified level. "God help us all. They're through." In the stasis chambers below, thousands of synthetic organisms stirred for the first time in months, their sensors detecting the biological signatures of a species they had been designed to eliminate. The activation sequence began automatically, and Earth's most dangerous defense system came online with the silent efficiency of a predator waking from hibernation. The war for Earth was about to begin, fought not with weapons or armies, but with evolution itself. "Team leader, something is happening to our equipment." Engineer Keksaval's voice carried a note of panic that Threxmal had never heard from his normally composed team member. "The scanners are registering biological activity, increasing exponentially, and our containment units are showing structural failures." Threxmal rushed to examine the readings, his scaled hands working frantically across the control interface. What he saw defied everything he understood about biological systems. The synthetic organisms they had discovered weren't just waking up. They were evolving in real time, adapting their structure and function faster than his equipment could analyze them. "Impossible," Threxmal muttered, watching as the organism samples his team had collected began producing compounds that were systematically corroding their containment vessels. "Biological systems cannot adapt this rapidly. Evolution requires generations, not minutes." But the evidence was undeniable. Within the first hour of exposure to Vorthak biological signatures, the organisms had completely restructured their cellular composition. They were producing airborne agents that caused immediate equipment failures in anything containing Vorthak-manufactured components. More disturbing, the atmospheric readings around the facility were shifting toward compositions that would be toxic to Vorthak physiology while remaining perfectly suitable for human life. 3 kilometers below, Dr. Marcus Holloway watched the transformation through BlackRock's monitoring systems with a mixture of awe and terror. The organisms were performing exactly as designed, but seeing the theoretical become reality was like watching his nightmares come to life. Every screen in the laboratory showed the same data. Rapid environmental adaptation spreading outward from the facility in concentric circles, transforming Earth's ecosystem into something specifically hostile to alien biology. "Kane, are you seeing this?" Holloway spoke into his communicator, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and fear. "The organisms are exceeding all projected parameters. They're not just neutralizing the Vorthak team, they're restructuring the entire regional ecosystem." Commander Kane's voice crackled through the communication link from his position at the edge of Earth's solar system. "Doctor, what exactly are we looking at? Our long-range sensors are detecting massive biological activity spreading across the planet's surface." "We're looking at evolution weaponized," Holloway replied, watching as the organism's influence spread beyond the Colorado facility toward Denver, then beyond. The synthetic life forms are analyzing everything in their environment and adapting it to be hostile to Vorthak biology while remaining perfectly safe for humans. They're turning Earth itself into an anti-alien defense system. On the surface, scientific assessor Threxmal was discovering that his team's situation had become impossible. Their communication equipment was failing as biological agents ate through the circuitry. Their atmospheric processors couldn't compensate for the rapid chemical changes in Earth's air. Most critically, their biological protection systems were being overwhelmed by organisms that seemed to understand Vorthak physiology better than they understood it themselves. "All teams, immediate evacuation to orbital vessels," Threxmal commanded, though he wasn't sure his order was reaching anyone through the deteriorating communication network. "Whatever the humans created down here, it's beyond our ability to contain or control." The retreat was chaotic and desperate. Vorthak personnel across Earth's surface found themselves facing the same impossible situation. An enemy that didn't attack directly, but simply made their continued presence unbearable. Their equipment failed, their atmospheric processors couldn't handle the changing air composition, and their biological defenses were useless against organisms that adapted faster than countermeasures could be deployed. Sector Commander Vex Dun watched the evacuation reports stream in from across the planet, each one describing the same phenomenon. His ground teams weren't being defeated in battle. They were being systematically forced off the planet by an environment that was actively rejecting their presence. "Commander, we're receiving reports from all surface installations," his tactical officer reported, fear evident in his voice despite military discipline. "Ground teams are evacuating due to equipment failure and atmospheric incompatibility. Whatever biological system the humans activated, it's spreading across the entire planet." Vexton studied the tactical displays showing the retreat of his forces. In 40 years of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. The Vorthak Empire had faced biological weapons before, energy weapons, even primitive nuclear devices. But they had never faced an enemy that didn't fight. It simply adapted the battlefield until continuing the fight became impossible. "Sir, we're receiving a communication from the Human Research Facility," the communications officer announced. "The scientist who activated the system wants to speak with you directly." Holloway's voice filled the Vorthak command bridge, calm and professional despite the chaos surrounding him. "Sector Commander Vex Dunn, this is Dr. Marcus Holloway. I believe we need to discuss the current situation." "What have you done to our forces?" Vex Dunn demanded, his voice carrying decades of military authority. "I haven't done anything to your forces," Holloway replied. "But the organisms you exposed to Vorthak biology are doing exactly what they were designed to do, making Earth uninhabitable for any species that isn't human. Your people aren't being attacked. They're being rejected by an entire planet that has decided you don't belong here." The implications hit Vexton like a physical blow. This wasn't a battle that could be won through superior firepower or tactical brilliance. The humans had created a defense system that couldn't be defeated because it wasn't fighting. It was simply making the conquest too costly to continue. "How do we stop it?" Vexton asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "You can't stop it," Holloway replied. "But you can leave. The organisms are programmed to become dormant once they no longer detect the biological signatures they were designed to counter. Remove all Vorthak personnel from Earth's atmosphere, and the system will begin shutting down within 30 days. For the first time in his military career, Sector Commander Vexton faced a choice between victory and survival. Earth could be conquered, but only by sacrificing his entire invasion force to an enemy that grew stronger with every day they remained. "High Command, this is Sector Commander Vexdun reporting a Code 7 biological hazard." The words felt like poison in Vexdun's mouth as he transmitted the most humiliating report of his military career. "I am requesting immediate authorization for complete withdrawal from the Sol system." The response from Vorthak High Command was immediate and incredulous. "Sector Commander, clarify your status. Are you reporting military defeat by a species we classified as primitive?" "Negative, High Command." "I am reporting biological incompatibility," Vexton replied, choosing his words carefully. "The indigenous species has developed adaptive biological defenses that make planetary occupation impossible. Continued presence results in total equipment failure and personnel casualties due to environmental factors." Through the command ship's viewports, Vexton could see the lights of his invasion fleet retreating from Earth's orbit. 200 vessels that had successfully conquered dozens of worlds were fleeing from a single planet because its inhabitants had found a way to make conquest more expensive than victory was worth. "High Command, the biological defense system is unlike anything in our military database." Vexton continued his report. "The organisms adapt to neutralize specific biological signatures while creating optimal conditions for the indigenous population. Standard biological warfare countermeasures are ineffective because the system doesn't attack. It transforms the environment itself." On Earth's surface, Dr. Marcus Holloway watched the Vorthak fleet's retreat through BlackRock's long-range sensors. The facility's automated systems were already detecting the beginning of the organism's senescence cycle. Without alien biological signatures to counter, the synthetic lifeforms were starting their programmed death sequence, though it would take weeks for the process to complete. Commander Kane's evacuation fleet had been monitoring the situation from the outer system. and his communications officer was the first to detect the Vorthak withdrawal. "Commander, long-range sensors show the entire invasion fleet moving to hyperspace jump coordinates. They're leaving the system." "Dr. Holloway confirmed the Vorthak departure," Kane radioed to the surface. "Confirmed," Holloway replied, his voice carrying exhaustion and disbelief in equal measure. "All Vorthak vessels have cleared Earth's atmosphere. The organisms are beginning their shutdown sequence." "We did it, Kane. We actually did it." The victory was strategic rather than military. Earth hadn't defeated the Vorthak Empire through superior weapons or tactics. It had made itself too dangerous and expensive to occupy. The organisms had transformed the planet into a biological fortress that rejected any non-human presence while remaining perfectly habitable for humanity. High Command's response to Vextun's report was swift and decisive. "Sector Commander, classify the Sol system as biologically hazardous and mark it as forbidden territory for all Vorthak operations. Document all biological defense capabilities and integrate the data into the Empire's threat assessment database." The classification was unprecedented in Vorthak military history. For the first time, an entire star system was being declared off limits, not because of military strength, but because the cost of occupation exceeded any possible benefit. The detailed reports of Earth's biological defenses became part of the Empire's permanent military database, ensuring that future alien threats would approach human space with extreme caution. Kane's fleet returned to Earth 6 weeks later to find a world transformed. The organisms had completed their senescence cycle, leaving behind an ecosystem that had been temporarily adapted for human protection, but was now returning to normal. Cities destroyed by the invasion could be rebuilt, but more importantly, humanity had proven that survival didn't require matching an enemy's strength. Sometimes it only required making victory too expensive to achieve. Holloway emerged from BlackRock carrying 8 years of research data and 30 days of recorded biological evolution that would revolutionize human understanding of defensive warfare. His documentation of the organism's adaptation process provided the foundation for a new type of planetary defense system that could be deployed to protect other human worlds without the risks associated with uncontrolled biological weapons. The psychological impact of the Vorthak withdrawal rippled throughout the galaxy. Other alien empires that had considered humanity an easy target suddenly found themselves reevaluating their assessment. The story of Earth's biological nightmare spread through alien military channels, creating a protective buffer around human space that would last for generations. Within 5 years, humanity had established colonies in dozens of star systems, protected by the knowledge that aggressive alien empires now considered human worlds too dangerous to invade. The defensive paradigm established by Project Sentinel had given humanity something more valuable than weapons. It had given them time and space to grow from a single endangered world into a thriving interstellar civilization. Holloway spent his remaining years teaching at the Colonial Defense Institute, training new generations of scientists in the principles of adaptive biological defense. His most important lesson was always the same. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from defeating your enemy, but from convincing them that victory isn't worth the cost. The BlackRock facility was rebuilt and expanded, becoming both a research center and a monument to human ingenuity. A plaque in the main laboratory bore a simple inscription: "Defense through adaptation, victory through evolution." Years later, when alien diplomats asked how humanity had survived its first interstellar war, the answer was always the same. They didn't survive through superior technology or military might. They survived because they understood that in a universe full of predators, sometimes the best defense is to become too dangerous to eat. Earth had taught the galaxy that humanity was not prey to be conquered, but a species that adapted, evolved, and found ways to turn their greatest weaknesses into insurmountable strengths. It was a lesson that would echo through the stars for centuries to come. If this story gave you chills about Earth's hidden defenses, turning the planet itself into humanity's ultimate weapon, smash that subscribe button right now. Now we want to hear from you. If you could design a biological defense system to protect Earth from alien invasion, what would be your most terrifying creation that makes conquest impossible? Drop your deadly designs in the comments below. We read every single one and love seeing your creative nightmares.